Well, I mean, there are many forms of support apart from the monetary as well. I really appreciate that too. And, can we hear from Constantine now, please?
Okay.
To link back to this morning's discussion, the generational gap, okay, and of course the commoditization of the institution or the way that we teach art making today lah, which is still highly influenced by the generational gap lah. So if you were, the kind of art making like we teach in our classes in studios and things like that were like very very studio centric, which the cost dengan tenaga pengajarnya pun like 40 something, 50 something lecturers that we sort of like our sifu and all that, okay? But the thing is that like in these classes or in these studios do not teach the kind of art making that differs from that kind of that so-called like KL thing, okay? Jadi the students doesn't have a different solution, okay? And the kind of program that we have also doesn't sort of like includes the kind of art making in which we tell artists or students that you can make different kind of art and you can like exhibit elsewhere, you can engage with community and things like that. Jadi the institution, education, the way that we teach in our classes, the program itself have to change because we are adhering or we are preparing students to become artists today, not 30 years ago. 30 years ago, you hit dalam masuk gallery punya scene, then you're okay already, But today, like it's very difficult to go into the gallery scenes, and we have to teach the students that they have to go back to the kampung and all that lah, and still buat artwork rather than become future teachers and things like that. Jadi in the art school mesti ajar there are many ways or introduce to our students like there are many ways of art making that you can still sustain if you are passionate about speaking about art, which tak ada, is not properly integrated into the program.
Selamat datang semua. Nama saya Fuad, artis dan tenaga pengajar UiTM China. Saya memang mengajar di UiTM, which is Lembah Kelang lah. So I want to share a little bit about my situation because saya asal dari Sabah, so Sabah sini Tapi most of my students are not from KL. Most of them from kampung. Ada yang ibu bapa dia security guard, nelayan, penuri getah, cikgu, macam-macam. Ada yang broke family, macam-macam. 80% lah orang-orang yang di luar daripada KL. Sabah Sarawak pun ramai. Saya sendiri mengajar 5 orang daripada kampung saya sendiri, Keniau. So narrating these people bringing is different from daripada apa yang diceritakan daripada orang Sabah yang bergerak di Sabah. Ini ada orang Sabah yang datang ke Semenanjung and Lembah Kelang. So I think there's a different model yang mungkin saya nak share lah. Because UiTM sendiri setiap semester 80 hingga ke 70 orang yang enroll dalam fine art. Tiap tahun mungkin ada 3-4 orang akan jadi artis maksudnya going to the gallery context, yang selebihnya jadi cikgu, ada yang jadi penukang, dan ada yang kerja jadi insurans, jual insurans, tapi majority jadi cikgu. So these people, they go back to their state, kampung dan sebagainya, and belajar and bawa apa yang dia belajar daripada UiTM. So UiTM ni dia punya model dan narrative dia different sikit because UiTM is more engaged in the Bumi Trust. Itu saja.
Okay. May I? Saya Yaakob Rabi dari Universiti Meja Sarawak. I just want to share a few thoughts berkaitan dengan pembelajaran kami di Unimas. It's quite different compared to UiTM, who most of the time is more on practical side studio. but in UNIMAS we more concerned on technology. So that is another different approach from us. And okay, kalau kita perhatikan sekarang ni di UNIMAS kita dah mula keluar daripada kepompong tradisional di mana kita telah mengajarkan student untuk jadi multitasking juga maknanya dia tidak akan jadi artis, but he can be an artist, but we give them a choice. So but we give them kepakaran kepakaran dalam konteks digital, dalam konteks teknologi, whatever related to visuals, and also at the same time in our research part, okay, dalam konteks penyelidikan kita juga telah mula menggabungkan. It's not just about visual art, but we also try to complement visual art with social science, with engineering, with so that means if they graduated, they can shoot with other bidang juga, other field as well. So tidaklah terlalu rigid dalam konteks itu saja. So I think we need to look into our student ataupun artis sekarang ni, kita jangan terlalu rigid. Dia hanya akan jadi seorang artis yang akan jual ataupun dia hanya akan dapat cari makan hanya dengan jual painting. So that's I think it's a very old minded. Kita kena lihat bahawa artis sebenarnya dia boleh hidup dalam di mana-mana dia letakkan dia, maknanya dia boleh, if he want to be an cikgu, dia boleh jadi cikgu yang membawa kefahaman artistik dalam menceriakan sekolah, dalam membawa itu semua. If you want to be engineering also, can still be in terms of visual or artistic point of view. Thank you.
Okay. Saya nak tambah sikit tadi. Saya setuju dengan doktor tadi tentang muzium, peranan muzium ataupun pembelajaran di luar daripada sekolah ataupun cara lain. Saya nak share juga di tempat saya ada residensi yang dibuat di kampung ujung tanah, ada residensi. Apa yang dilaksanakan di situ, ada berlaku respon daripada audien ataupun masyarakat lah. Maknanya macam sekolah sendiri dia suka keluar. Kami menyediakan satu aktiviti bengkel di kampung, di bawah pokok, di tempat yang biasa, tetapi ada elemen pendidikan di situ. Jadi maknanya ada unsur pendidikan yang memang sekolah cari satu kelainan yang lain yang tidak ada dalam environment sekolah. Jadi maknanya macam ujung tanah residensi itu salah satu tempat yang mereka suka. Kemudian satu lagi balai art geng di bawah persatuan. Balai art geng itu satu kaedah nak menjadi pewaris, cari pelapis dan pewaris kepada generasi kanak-kanak. Jadi mereka mengajar pendidikan melalui modul-modul yang diletakkan. Jadi maknanya kita kena kreatif dalam menyampaikan pendidikan tu, maksudnya tidak semestinya dalam bilik darjah, tetapi kita dah perlu keluar. Jadi ini peranan artis lah salah satunya yang kena dibanyakkan lagi di mana-mana, khususnya kawasan-kawasan di luar bandar itu saja. Terima kasih.
Sorry, today the discussion remind me so many years ago when I first met Kiadasa. So he say, "Hey Joe, you doing not that one I topic to you, but why you call yourself lost generation?" He tell me that artists should be a leader of society. Why artists lost? Artists can student lost. Okay. So why I tell this? Because I think that today we are here and all of us still making art. So it means we still survive with the art. We can survive doing art. So I think the one thing is like we need to change our mentality, because I think we cannot just always thinking that the help should be from the top down or from someone or from government, but I think it should be from ourselves. And then when the issue talking about KL is an art center. But for me, I think very important is like you need to change your mentality. Where you are, that's the center. I think most of us, or some of us, we really make like this, like Pangsulat, Bangkir, Borneo. I think you're already center. So you need to like think about this. You cannot always think that we are not from the center. Actually, you are the center. I think artists can be like, you go back to your kampong and then make your kampong become a center. I think we need to have this kind of mentality. Okay, thank you.
Just want to share the experience, okay? Yang mana saya datang daripada KL, akhirnya saya ambil keputusan duduk kampung. So I don't believe yang dulu this is my experience when my lecturer say and my colleague say, if you go out of KL you sudah mampus, you couldn't produce the work. Okay? I prove to them that silap. Okay? Sebenarnya menjadi seorang pengkarya, jiwa tu perlu berlaku, membawa apa benda dia nak bawa, not regarding about the space. Okay, so kadang-kadang saya nampak Perak tu seperti di Brisbane, seperti di London, seperti di New York. Jadi attitude apa yang sebenarnya kita nak bawa? Okay, lagi satu experience dengan ITM. ITM ni dia ada fine art, ada fine art department, dia ada 4 cawangan ya. Dalam 4 cawangan tu dia membawa attitude yang berbeza, okay, method yang berbeza untuk berkarya. Okay? Jadinya kita akan melihat benda tu, itu yang different sebab apa? Kita mempunyai pandangan yang berbeza dan tuntutan semasa di tempat apa yang ada. Paling penting adalah bagaimana kita cuba melestarikan tuntutan semasa dekat kawasan-kawasan apa yang ada, dan dekat situ paling penting apa yang pelajar hendak, bukan kami hendak, kan? Jadi kalau anda kata kami hendak, dia akan jadi 10 kami. Benda tu sebenarnya kita perlu hindarkan lah. So lagi banyak benda masalah yang dibawa, lagi banyaklah kita dapat tengok, kan? Even though kita nak orang yang umur 70 tetapi kepala otak dia tak macam 70 tahun, dia sentiasa muda. Okay, thank you very much.
I like that you sort of like, brought up, other sort of like locations and other geographies, because the next question that we want to sort of like get some sort of comments on is really about the regional, transnational and global sort of like networks that are very important, I guess, for creating opportunities of learning experience, and how our local sort of like support systems plug into these sort of like networks. And I think a lot of the decentralization that was happening, over the past 20 years, was in many respects facilitated by other kinds of like opportunities that were funded by, I guess, cultural organizations that are not national sort of like centered, right? They are national sort of like organizations, but they're meant to sort of like cultivate, say, a generation of cross-regional collegial networks through professional development, sort of like through diplomacy. But the idea is through diplomacy, but really what it sort of like fosters is a generation of sort of like colleagues working in the arts, and these then sort of like allow us to sort of like start creating, I guess, affinities outside of what the national sort of like priorities are on many levels, right?
I think what we've gathered today is that we actually do have a good collective of artists and institutions from across the country, but perhaps this is a good opportunity today to expand those networks here and now. So we wanted to move on to the next question, which is also about networking. Tapi dari segi ini kan kita mau tanya macam selain daripada institusi yang sudah ada dan selain daripada macam perbadanan agensi, apakah cara macam untuk artis-artis tempatan untuk mungkin belajar tentang peluang yang ada di Nusantara dan juga luar negara. So jaringan serantau ataupun transnational global adalah penting untuk melahirkan peluang-peluang pembukaan minda melalui pertukaran idea-idea dan pembelajaran dari budaya lain. Adakah sistem-sistem dukungan lokal di Malaysia prihatin terhadap jaringan-jaringan ini, dan bagaimanakah seniman Malaysia, terutama yang seniman yang berkarya dari luar bandar, mendapat peluang-peluang seperti ini? So soalan ini lebih bertujuan kepada artis lah.
Or actually cultural workers or curators who have sort of like gone on some of these programs. See how?
And see how artists. I think we can look into existing networks, institutional networks such as Dewan Bahasa Pustaka. They have cawangans outside of KL. I'm not sure if their non-KL cawangans are actually working or active.
We're asking specifically about regional and transnational sort of like local networks. On very few.
Okay, global.
Yeah. So I'm thinking more of like Japan Foundation, the Film Institute.
Okay.
Very
Just talking about
sort of,
translocal.
But yeah, if you have a point.
Right. No, just quickly, I think we can tap in terms of local, translocal connections. We can tap into existing infrastructural networks such as Dewan Bahasa Pustaka, which they already have space outside of KL. But are they actually actively promoting the cultural arts or the literature scene in that particular locality? Not necessarily. And my experience in Indonesia is that whenever I go to a kabupaten, that each of them have a library, and the library dedicate a specific shelf, a bookshelf, for local materials where the public can donate documents or photos or archives. So they appreciate the vernacular documents, the materials that cull from the public. And I think the local libraries in Malaysia, they are not doing that. They still have very general collections of books.
Ada soalan lagi?
Hi, how are you? Okay, about the networking, right? I think it's very important. But it always come again that artists that can write and talk, that get the opportunity of the all this networking. Apa networking ni kan, kalau kita tengok semua yang pergi keluar and apa yang datang, getting the artists yang can talk and can write, and dia tak menyeluruh. And so if you ask all artists, everybody want to go out to do residency, but because of they are lacking of that, so dia tak dapat the opportunity. But kalau kita tanya, dorang nak semua. So every day people yang going are curators, and curators come and go macam Asia lah. But this, tapi for artists basic yes. And if you're talking about itu yang berlaku di dalam KL, and you're talking about outside lagi daripada KL, I think I can say it's worse. And so for me the point is that networking is very important, and there must be a way, or there must be a effort untuk membuatkan the access of all this opportunity of getting networking can go to artists by the third party. You know, meaning the third party are doing it and asking the artists who want to go, and they're helping them out to what we call it, to get that opportunity. Thank you.
Encik Hassan.
Ini pengalaman EPS lah. Kita dah cuba pengalaman daripada EPS. Kami dah cuba broker Indonesia sampai ke China. Kita ada kekangan, ada permasalahan apabila kita nak pergi ke luar negara. Kekangan dia, kita kena ada networking, kena ada networking dengan pihak Kementerian Luar Negara, kerana bila hasil karya kita bawa ke luar negara, bila kita jual, dia lain entiti dia ada masalah lain. Saya tak tahulah kalau Bayu dah pernah biasa di Indonesia, tapi kita ada pengalaman itu, jadi susah. Walaupun ada buyer di sana, tapi karya kita di luar negara jadi susah. Jadi ada satu kekangan, masalah. Tapi walau macam mana pun, kita kena cuba. Berdasar pengalaman kami ke Indonesia, dan tak lama lagi ada artis saya akan berpameran di Indonesia. Saya tak tahu macam mana, tapi memang saya tak tahu apa cara yang paling mudah untuk karya kita bawa ke luar negara, kita boleh jual. Ini ada aspek ekonomi lah. Tapi dari segi saya nak cakap pun saya tak berapa pandai. Dari segi hukum dia, undang-undang dia tentang karya ni agak terlalu complicated sikit. Itu bila kita nak menyarankan bahawa pelukis perlu move pergi ke luar negara, pergi buat exhibition. Jadi pelukis perlu menjual karya, dan memang ada kolektor daripada luar negara yang suka dengan karya-karya kita, tetapi ada masalah, ada kekangan. Jadi saya rasa itu perlu dilihat, dibincangkan, terutama pelukis-pelukis yang biasa pergi berpameran dan menjual di luar negara.
Okay, apa yang boleh saya kongsikan di sini, I'm the pioneer candidate yang untuk program Georgetown Penang and Arts France by Penang State Government and also the French Embassy Kuala Lumpur. No offense, but this is purely about Penang and French Embassy. Penang is because at that 10 years before the election, Penang, as I said, the country of our own. So we take the initiative, the state government, which is our former chief minister, now is the Menteri Kewangan, he sent me to France, pilot project, and we have sent another candidate, which is the criteria, sorry to say, you kena nak Pulau Pinang. Jadi in that program, I was sent to Musée de Louvre, the Louvre Museum, for 1.5 months untuk curatorial exchange program, and then I've been sent to Arles, the southern part of France, for artists in residence. But the reason why I was in Arles bukan to produce an art. I studied and also observed and be part of the art society, how they carry and package themselves as an artist, how they market themselves. This is not that they have an SOP, it's a principle that they have. It was not taught in school, it's just a common practice by practitioner of artists, which is self-taught, artists yang graduated and so on. They know how to package themselves. So I have that ilmu that I bring it back to Penang, and I shared with my states. And to correct you, Sito, tadi you cakap everybody from the other center looking up in KL, not Penang people. We do things on our own way. Art is the pioneer for the program of culture and culture and heritage program. Correct me if I'm wrong, Janet. You are the person, the art right in Penang, and now I think other states are following it. And Himbas is doing their own way in the space. I don't think we have other art space like what we have in Himbas in the whole of Malaysia. And we are the people who started the phenomena of public art. So KL didn't do it, we are doing it, and other states doing it. Alright, so come back to the program. Not to glorify what Penang did, it's just that we don't really look in KL because KL has their own strength and their own way of doing and also play their role in the visual arts. But Penang and Borneo and Perak is doing their own way. Like Cik Parman said, they're the Binali thing. We Penang, we do it in our own way. Coming back to the capacity building that I did as exchange program, I think not only that they sent artists, it's just that the way that they did it in overseas is different. That's why I said you have to package yourself well as an artist. So in France, they don't speak English, they don't speak, but yet they come to Asia, they showcases their work in Seoul, in Japan. Both doesn't speak English, but they know how to package themselves. Like Tuan cakap tadi, macam mana dia bawa karya keluar. They have all the mechanism. It's not taught in the school. It's just that it's the principle that they have. Then they carry. Semua artis sama. Prinsip tu dipegang. So the way they put their portfolio, they have agent, they have their representative. So we should have that. That's what I'm stressing off in Malaysia that we should have. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Hi.
And then, just wanted to direct to the back.
Yeah. Okay, this is Bingley. I'm actually talking from a collector's point of view. I'm Bingley. Okay, I don't think there's anything wrong having KL being the center of all the art activities. It's more because KL, from my point of view, has become a melting pot of all the different cultures, because for many years as an art collector, when I tried to look into, until very recently, but when I tried to look into art in Penang, it looks like Penang collectors only by Penang artists, so it's very Penang-centric. I mean, I'm born in Penang, so I have nothing against Penang, it's just a view. But things have, of course, changed quite a lot in the last 3 to 5 years. Likewise, Sabah, my wife is from Sabah. I also look a lot into the artists in Sabah. And I find, as it was mentioned before, people like the late Tina Rimmer, she wants her artwork to be retained and kept in Sabah, so it becomes very Sabah-centric. So what we have in KL is actually a melting pot of all the artists, like what Ford mentioned earlier, about 80% of his students are from all over the country. And what I find as an art collector is I can find all types of different artworks, and all the activities in KL really works well for me. But I just like to add that from an art collector's point of view, it does not matter where the good artworks come from, because there's a lot of us, art collectors, we go to where the good artworks are. We go to Singapore, we go to Bandung, we go to Georgia, we go to Thailand. So as long as the good artworks are in those states in Malaysia, we could make our way there.
Okay, thank you for that. But we also need to look at how the art is viewed and how the context of the understanding that work changes when it's brought per se from Sabah to Kuala Lumpur. Okay, and so just want to get back to Ms. Lydia. Still there.
I would like to share with you a very different sort of collective or collaboration. This was, their base was in Penang, and they had exhibitions every 2 years overseas. And the membership is global. And this was started by a friend of mine. Unfortunately, she died in 2015. While I was very familiar with her and other Penang people, her name is Yoon Chi Ling. Yeah. And this collective was open to all professions, all women, sorry. It was called, I think, Presence in Colors. And we had membership all over the world. So we have been to America, England, Australia, China, Thailand, God knows where. And they can paint anything they want, except that they have to be very brave to exhibit beside another, another group. Okay. And the networking is very good, and they are promoting art and goodwill and fellowship. Now they are looking for leadership. So the leadership might come from Taiwan this time, if there are no active Malaysians. So it's a different sort of membership, and they are not young. They are professionals there, very mature, married women, machiks and all that. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. I also kind of want to highlight another artist who I think this question may be somewhat relevant to before we move on to the next one. Seeing as we are talking about regional, transnational, global networks, and I guess if you were to posit that those networks are not yet fully in existence or haven't fully manifested themselves, I think a really interesting thing to kind of note is that Pangrok Sulak this year is also attending the Asia Pacific Triennial, and they have works that are acquired from Mori Art Museum. So we don't see. So Rizal semua tanya sikit, boleh tak kau kongsi sikit macam mana kau boleh dapat connect dengan artis-artis ataupun museum dengan galeri di luar Sabah?
Salah satunya daripada rakan artis di Sabah lah, macam yang Pangrok Sulak, Ilan, dia banyak tolong kita untuk promote di luar. Dan selain itu ada juga galeri yang dia sendiri direct dengan kami, dia email kami sebab dia nampak dari media sosial dari mana-mana. So apa yang kami buat itu yang buat orang tertarik untuk tahu lah. Jadi kita kena buat, artis kena buat kerja yang bagus lah. Bagi saya artis kena buat kerja yang bagus. Kita tidak boleh tunggu kan? Kita buat sesuatu yang baik, pasti dia punya balikan pun baik. Kalau kita buat saja-saja kita mengharap yang lebih, tidak boleh lah macam itu kan. Kita tidak boleh gimana. Dan buat berkarya ini bagi saya dari hati. Kalau kita buat betul-betul, kita buat apa yang kita mau sampaikan, dia akan datang sendiri. Dan itu yang Abang Rock Sulap buat. Dan ya, saya harap kita untuk saya lah, untuk yang orang muda kan, kalau boleh berkarya itu buat betul-betul lah, bukan kita mau harap grant, bukan kita mau dapat ini itu untuk buat sesuatu. Dan Bang Rock Sulap memang bermula daripada tidak ada apa-apa, dan kita buat betul-betul untuk masyarakat. Duit itu akan datang kemudian.
Okay, so you're saying on top of mentorships, also social media and technology have also been very important for young artists to make those connections. To make those connections. Okay, now to Jennifer Licky from Sabah Art Gallery.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell all of you who are here, Bang Rock Sulap suddenly meletup. You know, they came out in, when was that result? 2012 or 13, I think. And they just took off. And just for your information, they've never come to the Sabah Art Gallery asking for money. They've never complained. I've never heard them complain. Unlike, unfortunately, a lot of other artists, they wait for institutions to help them take off. But as Rizzo was saying, they're doing everything from their heart, and I think people see it. And they get contacted directly by museums, by galleries. Since we're in the topic of networking and what have you, I was just wondering, can Malaysia come up with some kind of a body where we all can use our experience and leave it with this what we call it, creative board? Because right now I don't know if we have. I don't know whether it's me. I don't know, or if say somebody wanted to know about artists in Kedah. If I wanted to know a group of artists in Kedah, who do I call? I mean, I don't have any contact. So do I just go to National Art Gallery? Is National Art Gallery currently the only body that is having records of artists or collectives? So I'm just wondering, is it possible that we build something like this where all our separate networking, we then give it to a particular body, so that networking, because say today I network with 4 people, that knowledge I'll leave it with this, so other people will be able to find them. That's just a proposal.
Okay. Alright, shall we? Sorry.
Just to respond Jennifer, because actually you are right, because Bala memang ada buat archive. So untuk private gallery or national gallery, yes, looks like a directory. So everybody yang nak top up atau give us information, please let us. Yeah.
What
Thank you.
about funding? Funding or residency? What any like that?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry,
yes.
can I just be a little bit more specific, just for your question? What sort of funding do you need?
Any kind. Like if somebody's got funding, right? I'll just then
If say my collective has got funding to do a project in Bandung or something, right? Whatever it's called, I can just report that to this body. Yes, yes. And then so next time, if another collective say, oh, we want to do this, and it's a similar thing, so we can check who can we approach, because like CENDANA can do maybe this, another Khazanah National do something else. So at least you know who you can write to. The collectives can know, oh, okay, we can write to this organization because they are the ones who support our type of activity.
Yes, at the moment you can ask Bala, but if we cannot make it, we can ask our Kementerian Motek, because there is a jatuh kuasa penilai, there is a tabung from Motek that maybe we can work together and pass the message to Motek.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We'll take one more sort of like comment, and then we really have to move on to our next, the last final question.
I got lost. Somebody start talking something, somebody start talking something else, and then all get lost. I think we should keep to the topic. We should keep to the topic.
The topic is about sort of support system.
The support system.
Yes.
What she is saying that is just very simple matter. I think she answered it already. You want to know somebody, some artist from Clan or Kedah?
Thank you.
You can't. If you go to get National Gallery, you still can't. Because a lot of artists don't send their material to National Gallery. It's supposed to be a center index for everything, you know. The other thing they're talking about, just now somebody was talking about networking overseas and all this country. I have been, in the last 30 years, almost every year, with a group of artists, went down to Japan, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Indonesia. We do all this. But I tell you, it sounds very good. Not much. You gain not much. You know, some artists go there for some holiday, but for your career as an artist, not much. Now, I just want to relate another story. It just happened last week. 33 artists went to China for an exhibition, blah, 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 blah. Come back, nothing. I tell you, nothing. It's a lot more complicated than what we are thinking, because promotion in another country and all that, it needs a lot of many other things. You have to do a lot of things to get to where you want to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lo. Okay, so bearing in mind what you've just said about the sort of like the expenses that we sort of like of resources that amounts to almost sort of like nothing on so many levels, but at the same time also reminding ourselves that Ms. Jennifer Lingu had raised up the idea, the possibility of sort of like setting up a kind of organization that or a body or an agency on some level that facilitates knowledge, is to then sort of like move to our last sort of like question, which is to think about support systems that can be built or are being built today beyond the market, private philanthropy or state funding. I was wondering if artists here today have any ideas of sort of how support systems can be thought of outside of, say, thinking about money coming from the state, or thinking about chasing after the next sort of like private collectors, or thinking about how the market and private philanthropy and then sort of like support the arts. Are there other ways of thinking about support system that might be more aligned to what our friend Rizzo has sort of like said, that comes from the heart, very happy, right?
Because apart from formal networks, you can also have organic networking, and I think that works better for considering the diversity of voices. There's no one size fits all for in terms of networking. It depends on the voice of the artist and what it is they have to say as well. So moving on to the next one, the last question. Apakah sistem dukungan yang sedang dibangunkan atau boleh dibangunkan selain daripada pasaran, dana peribadi, dan institusi kerajaan? Perlukah kita berfikir tentang sistem dukungan seni yang baru? Adakah Malaysia perlukan sebuah majlis seni, Arts Council, and what will you do with that Arts Council?
Hello, okay, Bayu again, sorry. Okay, I think saya rasa ada dukungan yang perlu dibuat oleh kita lah. Dan saya rasa pertama sekali kita patut lupakan pasal masalah artis. I think masalah ni akan ada sampai bila-bila lah, kan, masalah artis. Jadi forget about artis. Kan, tapi sekarang ni because of the art scene, we need perlukan structure. Kan, player dia adalah artis lah, tapi banyak lagi structure lain yang perlu ada dalam sistem tu. Sebab kalau tak nanti kita hanya akan bercerita tentang masalah artis je, dan benda tak akan berjalan. Bagi saya ada perkara, jika kita ada duit, kita ada grant, I think yang boleh dibuat. Pertama sekali adalah kerana kita tak ada school yang mengajar curatorship or art writing, betul ya, berbanding dengan Singapura. Jadi kita kekurangan benda tersebut, kan? Kita kekurangan. Jadi sekiranya ada badan individu ataupun institution perlu diadakan sama dalam bentuk institution, sama ada sekolah atau cerita lain, ataupun short course ataupun satu effort yang mencungkil kurator ni. Sebab hanya dengan kereta-kereta ini sahajalah yang akan menaikkan reputasi seni yang dibuat oleh masalah artis ni, kan? So we need that. So if we give them 10,000 each for them to learn how to become a curator, give them another 10,000 for them to curate independently artworks or to independently artists. So dia bukan attached with institution, because kita tahu institution have their own curator dan independently. Kedua adalah art writer. Jadi kebanyakan ada kita yang ada writer adalah bukan base daripada writer, bukan art writer. Dan mereka ni tidak mempunyai peluang. Kebanyakan ada writer yang suka nak menulis, tetapi mereka tidak mempunyai peluang untuk publishkan. Writer need to publish their writing, right? In what kind, any kind of form. So I think it's best to have a platform for them to contribute with some sort of token, whatever. Then it encourages writers to constantly writing and to constantly searching for material which is produced by an artist. Ketiga adalah artist manager. Okay, basically because I'm around with artists and kadang singer, and I think kebanyakan arts banyak ada manager, somebody manage for them. Kecuali artis ada manager. And artists is very bad in managing themselves. Kan? Betul kan? Mungkin saya artis lah, so I'm personally agree. It's very bad in managing themselves. So they cannot talk about themselves, they cannot talk about what they want to do, but they know what they want to do. So somebody have to be their art managers. So every year we have graduates of like directors, director cakap 500 per year, kan? And 5,000 per year. And kalau you cakap 3 orang dia artis, I think the system is failed. It's completely failure. In 90s, 15 students, 15 students, itu ada daripada arts, 3 akan jadi artis. But if you had 80 students arts keluar, and not even 3 jadi artis, system is failure for me. So there must, I think, because the support system not been built. So ketiga adalah is okay, ketiga je.
Just picking off from Bayu, I noted a system in Japan when I was doing some research there, where the grant from the federal would actually go to each province or state or secondary city, and the secondary city would then allocate the grant to a gallery or a performing arts institution, which had the mandate to take on multidisciplinary mentoring. So they created like a baby ecosystem for emerging curators, emerging artists, emerging whatever, and it included getting space for studios, etc., etc. And the whole group of the many fingers of the ecosystem would actually get trained together on a 1 year, and they would be able to sell their work at the end of that 1 year, which included buyers as well. And I found the system quite, it was very workable.
I really like that you're sort of like, you want to say something? Oh, no, you go.
Finish what you're saying.
I actually want to sort of like share Sharon, sort of like comparison as well, that she did on Facebook recently, which sort of like is similar on in lines of what you sort of like mentioned about the Japanese sort of like model. But what she sort of like compared was the sort of like Singapore model, as opposed to a model that was sort of like developed in a small little village in Mexico, somewhere we would never imagine that there would be a lively, thriving sort of like arts community, right? And I'll read her text to you. I will offer 2 existing models of how things might go. One of them is often spoken about highly in Malaysia, and that is the example to emulate Singapore. This is a top-down model in which almost all artistic activity is funded and overseen by state institutions. The infrastructure is good, the individuals are highly trained in their areas of expertise, metrics and KPIs become the sole measurement of success, audience attendance, number of art graduates, contribution to national GDP. Meanwhile, that which cannot be measured loses its value in all but name, including mental and spiritual well-being, cultural inclusion and diversity, a sense of belonging and community, and respect for individual human rights. Conservatism abounds. Artists live with the constant threat of state persecution, ranging from withdrawal of funding to the imposition of harsh laws, as well as the policing from within their own society. This is the Singapore model. This might be where we might be aspiring towards. The second model that she's proposing as an alternative, it's only something that she's read about recently. It's called Osaka City, I don't know how to pronounce it, in southwest of Mexico, which has become famous as a mecca for printmaking. On almost every street corner, there is a studio, gallery, or art space. No one knows the definite number of printmaking studios in Osaka. But a common joke is that the city is sinking from the weight of all its printed material. There are libraries, institutions, workshops, collectives, co-ops, residencies, art fairs, biennales dedicated to the print scene. And artists might trade rolls of handmade paper with another artist's print. The street art changes constantly. People from all over the world travel to Osaka to visit and buy prints and print and learn printmaking. This is an ecosystem that was not engineered, but evolved organically over time, and has shown its resiliency in the face of great social upheaval. In 2006, the city was embroiled in a teacher strike that resulted in state violence and 17 deaths. Artists rallied together in this time of crisis and produced thousands of prints in response to what was happening around them. Today, Osaka's sort of like printmaking scene is more vibrant than ever. So these are the sort of like two models that she's sort of offering to sort of like suggest, you know, there might be sort of like different ways we want to like think about how we want to, what kinds of institutions that we want to sort of like imagine to be at the heart of, you know, our support networks in our support system. Yeah, and then Saudi.
Hello everyone, saya Amir dari Arto Movement. Saya nak tambah sedikit apa yang Encik Bayu cakap tadi tentang kurangnya curator dan sebagainya. Dekat UiTM ada menawarkan kursus iaitu kursus Visual Culture Studies yang memfokuskan kepada so-called support system, iaitu daripada sudut managerial dan juga curatorial, tapi kursus tu dah 5 semester, sudah keluarkan tak silap 5 generasi, tapi dia agak kurang mendapat sambutan, ataupun yang saya lihat yang keluar tu semua tak ada, mungkin tak berapa nampak. Jadi mungkin macam mana yang pernah Home dan juga Ilham pernah buat untuk kursus ataupun event curatorial, mungkin itu yang diperlukan sebenarnya lagi, supaya mungkin boleh diambil juga daripada mereka-mereka yang baru grad ni, supaya mereka itu boleh mengaplikasikan apa yang mereka pelajari sewaktu zaman belajar. Ya.
Just very briefly before you guys can do the wrap up of the session, but I think when we talk about the global, regional kind of exchange and things like that, what we need to also recognize is actually the fact as like how different groups actually were being picked up by curatorial, museum, and biennale researcher, which means that there must be something that they are doing wholeheartedly, sincerely, or something, the issues that we're working on, the model that we're working on, which interests the researcher and curators from coming from abroad or coming from the region, that there's something that they are being offered to their exhibition, to their biennale, to their archive, to their research. So if we cannot think like that, they will say, oh, why are they not looking at me and why are they not looking at us? Then you should start thinking about what am I doing that which does not apply to them. But maybe you have a different industry or different audience that we can engage. So we have to start we can think in that way, and to change the way our perspective of how we make and how it's being consumed or how it's being understood by different agencies, different researchers, and different scholars. So in a sense, going back to your locality or to your source of production, those are something that is interesting, and you should be in confidence of, you should be confident of what is being made. So let's flip that idea around, because sort of advertise for the next session, we have a lot of ideas actually floating around. So I want you to think about this. I think Hanim and I, we want you to push this beyond how to resolve, but what else to do, what other way of thinking about. And just echoing what Bayu was talking about, I think Whole Arts Trans has done a lot of this kind of inter-regional exchange with their own resource and resourcefulness, okay, to push all this kind of collaboration. And I was just telling Hyman, I think maybe we can find a different way, which is maybe 10 artists, each of you fork up 2,200 ringgit a month and support a curator or an artist with no, or art writer, no string attached. Alright, just to push that. Because that will, I think, in a way, echo what when Simon raised Sharon's piece, is like, what other alternative way of funding and supporting each other, besides talking about structural and systemic? Okay, what kind of microstructure, microsystem can artists, if we are artistic and creative, we should be able to find or dream of or imagine different ways of doing things. And so this is what I would like all of us to sort of bring into your tea break toilet smoking session, and bring on to the next session to just push beyond just the first few steps of thinking about it and the next. Okay, sorry, I stole your rapid session.
The two ladies at the end of the room will have the floor.
Hello, saya minta maaf. Saya rasa soalan yang terakhir bila moderator, saya rasa mungkin tak. Soalan tu saya rasa dah macam layang-layang tau. Soalan ni dia kata, adakah kita memerlukan art council? Saya tak, mungkin benda ni bukan satu benda yang bila orang tak cakap pasal ni, so maknanya benda tak penting kot. Itu sebab tak ada apa yang orang cuba highlightkan tentang art council ataupun majlis. Saya bukan orang yang tepat lah untuk merespon pada benda ni, tapi mungkin apa, Sulita boleh
maybe we can talk about the arts council at the wrap up later, or the final session.
This is not the final session.
Ada dua lagi. No, I know the question is here, but I've just suggested that because we go at only one time. Yeah.
I'm not going to respond specifically about the arts council question, but what I'm going to say is kind of a wrap up as well, a little bit.
Sorry, no. Actually, why don't we ask you? Do you want to keep going with the art council or come back to the next session? Okay, we'll give it another 15 minutes. 15 minutes, we keep going. Okay, keep going, sorry.
No, but because I think we should do the platforms first before we do the arts council. Then we can sort of think about arts council more broadly. It can be a body of, a body that Jennifer sort of like mentioned. Like.
Okay, so Nisha, how does your comment fit in?
Okay, well, I completely agree with some of the things that Salvin's been saying and a lot of the independent initiatives that are happening, but I just wanted to make a few points about what else was being stated in relation to support structures, because I think we're circling the topic of policy, but we're not getting into it. And I know that in this particular forum, we don't really have enough space and time to do that. But I feel that what we need to do is not just reimagine new ways, which I fully and wholeheartedly support independent thinking, but we also need to more deeply examine the existing structures. Because one of the words that I didn't hear at all was accountability. And people were very happily describing the various things that their respective institutions are doing, and I think that's great, but there's never been accountability of these institutions. So I think that we have to recognize that what we're ultimately talking about is that we need to create conditions that empower and enable artists to function independently, devoid of these other networks and systems of support, and allow them to network. But we also need to have institutions that are better managed and held accountable. So instead of just saying that we do these programs, we actually see the results, we have better understanding, more transparency, how the funds are being used over the past several years. We still don't actually know that. When we talk about corporate support, there have to be systems of incentives. while it's nice to talk about someone willingly giving away money, the reality is that all around the world, this does not happen easily. People, and what happens in most countries is that there are policies to incentivize corporations and private companies to support the arts, and that is also a matter of policy. And lastly, this one is a bit harder, but to really understand how economic development and urban policy develop, because as we're talking about places outside KL, there's a reason why the market is here. The markets are always in the city centers or in cities where there is a lot of financial wealth gathered. So we also have to understand how city governments are interested in developing their respective cities, like Kuching, like we see in Sabah, like we see in Penang, and understand how we in the arts and cultural sectors can also take part in that development. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yes or no, Arts Council?
Yes, Penang, we do have Penang Art Council. It was an art council registered, it was a private NGO, but now the government is revising it and parked under the umbrella of Expo, which is called Penang. We're revising the policy and also the OUV, overall universal value. So we do have it.
Let me know what you're going to do.
That's a great thing to sort of like keep in mind, but why don't we really sort of like take a break, following from the next session where we actually sort of talk about different kinds of like platforms.
Just take about 15 minutes.
Oh, we still have time?
No, you want to keep going. So they want to keep going, you think we should just wrap up and come back? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, last one and then we're going to take a break. Last comment and we take a break, okay?
2 minutes to, because I think government can change. People happy in Balai can change. But duration, so can change anytime. Okay, then I think so. The policy also always will change also. So I think we need someone like can represent artists or to have a dialogue with the changes. So I suggest instead we have of course I agree to have an art council, but I think we not reached that time yet. But maybe we should think about artist union. I mean, pekerja seni union. I mean, because I remember a few years ago, Bio have done something art triangle, and then have a fund for the artists to help the artists to market artists and that kind of thing. I think it's good, but we cannot continue to sustain because the resource only get from one way. So I think maybe we should think about that, and then I think we need to have a voice, independent. Okay, I'm talking about independent voice, or from the ground, and then we can dialogue to the whatever ministry or whatever you want to have to voice out. I think it's very important because if you park the art council under government or this and that, I think the voice couldn't hear. So or is controlled by a certain rule and regulation. So my suggestion is like we need to seriously think about maybe we should have a artist union, something like this. Okay. From that maybe we can go another level.
Yeah. Okay. Stop. All right. Okay. Thank you very much to Simon and Najira. Would you like to say anything? We will have a wrap-up session with one more session after this. It'll be half an hour break, or actually no, we'll come back at 3:30. Yeah, we have 20 minutes. Have a break. Have a think about what kind of ideas you want to contribute to the next session, and we'll see you then.